So, in last session of moods and emotions, I have discussed with you that model and then how to be, that is the emotional labor in with the help of the individual factors and organizational factors, they are going to be the finally the outcome is there. Now, that particular model has been again modified, and with in this particular session I will talk about that particular models, moods and emotion, that will be the part 3 of this particular chapter. So, in case of the new model, now you see that is the, we talk about the work content level, and the work content level we will go by the work role interaction expectations. There also we have talked in the old model also, we have talked about the work role and the expectations are there, but here you will find the dimensions are different, that is a task duration and intensity, and then it is a relational, it is new one. An example is the power and intimacy. So, therefore, in that case it becomes very important, that is the whenever you are becoming into this power and relationship, intimacy is there, then it has to be the relational one. Then we display the rules. Rules are the, that is the group, organization, and that already I have discussed in the old model also. So, this is becoming the relational one is there. Now, second is the work context. In work context, in old model also we have discussed about the job autonomy, but here we will say see that is the whenever we are talking about the social element. So, say social element means that how you are socially involved at the work in the work context is there, and whatever the social norms and rules are there, are they supportive or not. Then managerial practices, that is the do the organization provides the training programs, do the organization provides the incentives, and all the employees are motivated, and therefore, management practices are the positive and supportive or not, that we will talk into the work context. Next one is the team and store performance. Team and store performance examples will be authentic and friendly, right, and this is a new dimension which has been added, that is a team concept is there, and in the team concept it becomes very important, that is what is your performance is there. Then if friendly, and the turnover and loyalty is there, and if turnover and loyalty is there, how it is going to be in the case of the profit and sales, it is to be there. So, therefore, we will find that is the in new model there are certain more dimensions are included, like the relational is included, and the team and the store performance has been included. Now, in this revised model of the emotional labor, right, or emotional intelligence, organizational citizenship behavior, and the counterproductive work behavior, you will find that is there is a person level has been given. What is that person level? The personal level will be the individual differences. What are the different dimensions? We will talk about the individual differences. In the individual differences, there will be the societal status. Example is the gender, age, race, and therefore, that social status will make a difference. Second is the traits. Examples are the affectivity and the activation, and therefore, in that case it will become very important, that is the how the traits are there. If the traits are positive, then definitely in that case it will be the individual differences will be having the personality traits differently. For example, maybe the if you follow the MBTI, then Myers-Briggs type indicator. So, it will be extrovert or introvert, intuitive or sensing, thinking and feeling, perceiving and judging. And therefore, we have to see what are the different traits are there. Then the abilities are there, and abilities are the emotional intelligence and self control. So, how it is the what type of the emotional intelligence and self control ability an individual is having. So, naturally, as I talked about the emotional intelligence in the previous session also, it will vary from individual to individual is there. Then the value system of the individuals, how the value systems are changing from individual to individual. So, it may be the identification, that how do you identify, and the individual collective, that is the how whether the person is the individual collective or not. Now, in the person level you will find that is there are the individual differences are there. Then the employee well-being is there, that is the health, example is the sleep and the substance is there. So, therefore, in that case it becomes very important, that is the whether you are having that particular proper sleep or not. In the employee well-being, if the proper rest is not there and the proper sleep is not there, then definitely in that case the body will not be responsive. And if the body will not be that responsive, then definitely in that case the actions that will be slow, and so your response will be slow. So, therefore, in that case that will affect the employee well-being. Relational, what we have talked about earlier also in the relational here, that is the whenever we are talking about this relational, right, that is the work role, interaction, expectations, and then this particular relational, that is the what type of the relation the employee is having with the spouse and co-workers. If the relational with the spouse and co-worker and that is a smooth functioning is there, then definitely in that case you will find that is the employee well-being that will be high. Employee well-being, or you can say the happiness of the employee at the workplace, that will be very high. In the case of the employee well-being, the another important dimension, and that is becoming the attitudinal. Attitudinal is example is the self concept, that is whether the person is positive, have the positive approach or does not have the positive approach, or the employee is burnout and therefore, he does not find any positive response at the workplace. If that is so, then it will be very difficult for him to going for that the glow up or the better performance at the workplace. In case of the employee well-being, the very important factor, and it is about the job satisfaction, and if the person is having the job satisfaction, his managerial effectiveness will be better. Then after the person level, in this new model they are talking about the event level. Event level is the emotional events, example interpersonal behavior and goal achievement is there. So, whatever the project or task is given, so accomplishment of task or accomplishment of goal, and therefore, you will find that is there is an interpersonal behavior that becoming a very positive, because the employee is able to achieve the task or goal which he has planned. Then emotion regulations with others, then is the response focused GR, example surface acting and the physiological modification is there. And if there is a such type of the physiological modification and the surface is acting is there, then definitely you will find the employee is more response focused, because he is not reacting to the given situation. It is R and R, whether do you react or do you respond, and therefore, in that case you will find that is the you respond, and if you respond, then definitely in that you are having the proper emotional regulations. It has been talked earlier also, that is the emotional labor and the emotional control. So, that becomes very important, that is the are you able to regulate your emotions? Or emotions monitor you? It is a big question. So, you have to understand that is what exactly you are looking for. Whether you are emotional focused or you are having the response focus, or there is no you are having the proper response. Then in the case of these felt emotions, one is the perceived emotions, other is the felt emotions. So, when you are having the felt emotions is there, that is how you have felt because of raising of those emotions is there, and the perceived emotions means how do you perceive the emotions. So, therefore, in that case in the felt emotions, the antecedents are the focused, as I talked about the deep acting is there, reappraisal situation and the modification is there. So, what you do you reappraise the situation, and then you are going for the modification of your behavior is there. On the basis of these individual differences of the individual social status, traits, abilities and the personal value systems. Now you go with this the particular outcome. The individual differences and employee well-being, right, they will also that create whatever the in the event level, that is what will be the outcome. So, emotional events in the event level, they will lead you toward the emotional regulation with others. how do you interact, how do you react with the others, and finally this will lead to the outcome. What will be the outcome? That is the intrapsychic, that is the discordance tension. It becomes very important. That is when you are having the dissonance tension is there, then how do you make the proper responses at the workplace, and because of you are having the emotional regulations, definitely you will have the proper responses at the emotional responses at the workplace, and this will make you the more regulating yourself, and will be the goal achieve oriented will be there. So, goal achievement oriented personalities will be there, and there will be the interpersonal, that is the emotional performance. OCB is the organizational citizenship behavior is there, and when we talk about the CWB, that is the counterproductive work behavior is there. So, interpersonal will be outcome will be interpersonal, that is developing the OCB. So, I will be discussing the OCB in detail, that is how the organizational citizenship, the rights and duties. I have talked some part into the previous session also, and therefore, in that case what happens, that is the counterproductive work behavior. How do you have the counterproductive work behavior, and in that you will find that is the OCB and counterproductive work behavior. These outcomes will be related to the target reaction. What is target reaction? That is the what will be the mimicry, evaluation, then the trips and the help and complaint, all these will be the target reactions will be there on the basis of these outcomes of the intrapsychic and interpersonal interactions outcomes, that will give you the target reactions will be there. And if you are having the target reaction, ultimately again it will lead to the emotional events. These emotional events again emotional regulations, outcomes and the target reaction. So, this circle will be completed. Now, what is important is this, that is the in the case of the new model, you have to understand that is it is not only the emotion control, it is not only the emotional regulations, but you have to also see that is the what are the outcomes and whether you are meeting the target reactions or not. So, this is the additional input by the new model on the emotional labor and emotional intelligence. So, in this model what we understand, to conclude this, the new model expands the original model to include relational characteristics as part of the work role emotional expectations. So, this relational, as I mentioned here also, that is these are the relational and these are the relational is there, and then therefore, in that case you will find that is the this model is giving you the relational characteristics as part of the work role emotional expectations. The familiarity or the warmth between the employee and the target and their status differential influences display rules and the emotional relational expectations are there. So, at workplace what type of the emotional relations expectations are there, that will be informed and continued in this type of the circle which we have talked into the new model. But very interesting one terminology you might have noticed, that is the emotional events. So, emotional events are likely part of a feedback loop where the outcome of one's emotional labor, the targets work related behavior, example complaints, helping, tipping. So, therefore, these will be the target, and this target will be the work related behavior. So, if you are having these examples of the complaints, like the many employees they keep on doing the complaints, but how do you respond? That is very important, because if the complaints and then if you are not able to regulate your emotions, what will happen? You will react, but that will be a mistake. Complaints are to be responded. Complaints are not to be reacted. So, therefore, in that case what type of the complaints are there, and then how do you respond, that becomes very important. Then the helping and tipping is there. So, there another important work related behavior, emotional labor. Emotional labor what does? Emotional labor, they are helping to their co-workers. If they are helping their co-workers, then definitely in that case it will be a very much emotional regulated behavior is there, and becomes the employee's next emotional event, and that will be positive emotional event. Participants who tend to suppress the expressions had a worse task performance after performing emotional labor. That is the Wallace Edwards challenge in 2009. Overall, a personal tendency to fake or suppress emotions with others may help to determine outcomes of the event level for the emotional labor. So, on by understanding the moods and emotions, and then this old model and new model in the emotional labor and emotional relationship, how these can managers influence mood. Can we influence the moods? Because we have learned from this model, that is, if there is a positive moods and emotions, better is the performance, better will be the response. So, whether we are having, so use humor to lighten the moment. You see many times the people complain, and then just a response in the sense of humor, and that will totally change the environment. So, when heat is there, you diffuse the heat. You should learn how to diffuse the heat and use the humor to lighten the moment is there. Give small tokens of appreciation, and therefore, in that case always whatever their work they do, please appreciate them, maybe small, but definitely we have to express our appreciation to our colleagues and the people those who are working with us, because then when you are appreciating the positive emotions, and when there is a positive emotions, the blood circulation that becomes more faster, and then as a result of which you will find that is the employees are more active and energetic and happy. So, therefore, please understand that always keep on giving the small tokens of appreciation. Stay in a good mood themselves are led by the example, and therefore, in that case it becomes very important, that is they have to stay in a good mood, right. And if they are not into the good mood, if the boss is not in the good mood, how you can expect the subordinate to be in a good mood, right. So, therefore, what is required, that manager should always themselves, they should be in the good mood, in the sense of humor, they are pleasant personalities, people want to talk to them, people like to talk to them, people go to meet them. So, therefore, all these will be the good mood for themselves will be there, it has to be there. And these managers, when they are having the influence the moods, what they do, the higher positive people they generate. It is the best gift, that is the when they are able to generate these higher positive people, as a result of which you will find that is they are doing the wonderful job. So, we will see now the implications for managers is there. Now you see that is how it works. Whenever we are talking about that is the we are going from these top to down, then in that case you will find that is the always we are having the different emotions, and in the different emotions the superior subordinate relationship. In superior relation, here is the well-being, employee well-being is there, and employee well-being is done through the emotional relationship, a positive emotional relationship at the workplace is there, and the emotional labor. If the proper control responded, emotional labor is there. If at the workplace employee relationship has been developed, then definitely all these will lead towards the employee well-being, and that is our objective, that is our motive. What is our motive? Our motive is to create the employee well-being, our motive is to create the happy workplace, please understand. So, therefore, in moods and emotions, if there is a proper regulations and monitoring is there, you will be able to create happy workplace. Sometimes the subordinate may be wrong, but what managers does? He does not express, he does not shout, he does not humiliate the subordinate, rather than he supports, he take the corrective action, not the punishment, please understand. So, emotions and well-being, when they are positive, they are corrective, they are reformative, right, then in that case you will find that is the employee well-being it is done. So, therefore, it becomes very important, that is we have to see that why we should be so much concerned about moods and emotions, because moods and emotions create a relationship between the superior and subordinate, and that will be ever long lasting. Even the subordinate or the superior, when they leave the organization and go to the new organization, you will find that they are remembered. I remember that is earlier in my career I have worked with the 3 private organizations. I have worked with the Hukum Chin Mill, I have worked with the Shriram Group, then I have worked with the JK Tire, right, JK Group. So, therefore, in that case you will find that is whenever we are talking about this type of the implications. So, even if you leave the organization, still you are carrying those positive memories with you, and if you are carrying your positive memories with you, then definitely in that case you will find that is your emotional relationship is very strong with the organization. For the practical purpose, for the progressive purpose, you may shift from one organization to another, but your relationship with the previous organization, relationship with the previous bosses, where you were working earlier, definitely there will be always remembrances there. So, therefore, what we have to do? We have to understand the role of emotions and moods to better explain and predict behavior. It is a big challenge to understand the moods and emotions of your colleagues and subordinates, because you are trying to develop a certainty from the uncertainty. So, you are creating from the uncertain to the certain. If you are creating uncertain to the certain, then definitely in that case you have to understand the role of emotions and moods to better explain and predict the behavior. If you are able to predict the behavior, then really you will able to handle the moods and emotions. Normally what happens, that is you are not very sure, that is whether you are going for to handle this particular relationship with the subordinates in a proper way, and because the more workload is there, more assignments are there, and then employee is required to do those assignments in workplace, and therefore, in that case you will find that is becoming the from uncertain to certain, and that relationship will work. Now, in the case of this particular uncertainty to certainty, now we will talk about the emotion moods to do affect workplace performance. So, this is very important, right, because I talked about that is this formula for the managerial effectiveness is A into M into O, ability into motivation. M is for the motivation. If there is a willingness and there is a motivation, and this motivation is outcome of the moods and emotions. So, therefore, in that case if the moods and emotions they are creating that particular motivation, then because the more willingness is there and more willingness is there and the able person is there, then because the moods and emotions they are going to affect work performance, right, managerial effectiveness and very high. So, the total value will be very high, but please do not forget that the sign is multiplication. So, if the motivation is negative, willingness is negative, then definitely in that case the value will be low. If value will be low, then in that case definitely it will be found that is the how this particular ability that will be affected. And if negative, if you remember the stress, and then in the stress, that is the person is not able to cope up with the stress. So, what will, and then that relationship, right. So, therefore, it is a distress. If in the the distress is there, then in distress motivation will be 0, and if it becomes 0, then even though you are having the better opportunity to work in the organization, you are high able person, but because the motivation is 0, the ME will be 0. So, you have to be very careful, that is the employees at the workplace, they are full charge of the positive emotions. They should not be dysfunctional, they should not be distressed, there should not be a negative feeling towards the organization. And managers, they are supposed to develop the positive emotions at the workplace. If they are able to develop the positive emotions at the workplace, then definitely in that case they will be making the more productive workplace. So, if you want to create more productive workplace, it is becoming important, that is the you are able to make this particular moods and emotions regulations, right, that is in a very proper way. If you create in a proper way, then you are definitely are the more positive. While managing emotions may be possible, absolute control of worker emotions is not. So, therefore, it is possible, that is the your managers are able to control their emotions because they are managers, but not necessarily that is the absolute control of the worker emotion they will be able to do. You can control your own emotions, but you cannot 100% control the emotions of others. Because I have discussed in the first slide of emotion, moods and emotion first, that is the moods and emotion first, they will be on the basis of that whatever the situation is there, organizational climate is there, accordingly the moods and emotions will be created. So, my submission is this, that is for the implications for manager while managing the emotions, that it is possible, that is the we should have the not only the managing of emotions of ourselves, but we should also learn to monitor and direct the emotions of the laborers, so that they will be more functional and productive and creative. So, this is all about the, I will finish here the moods and emotions part 3, and now we are taking the certain examples. So, some most of them are the positive emotions and some of them are the negative emotions, but important emotions. So, whatever the important emotions are there at the workplace and their managerial effectiveness, managerial skills, that we will be keep on discussing in the next further sessions. So, here I would like to end by saying, learn to control your emotions, learn to regulate your own emotions, and also try to learn how to direct the others' emotions in a positive way. So, this is all about the moods and emotions. Thank you.